Okay, in another video, I showed you that kind of, we talked about Power BI and all this stuff, and I showed you, well, if if you're doing this just in Excel, you can press those little buttons here, select different technologies, and use little check boxes to make different evaluations. How about wind? If we just want onshore wind and not offshore wind, we can click on different things. Okay, I would just want EIA, IEA. Oops, that gives us nobody. Okay, and so in this video, I'm going to show you kind of how to do that. And the technique involves just a couple of things. It involves, number one, creating little true-false switches that you can see. Number two, it involves simply counting how many trues there are, reflecting the fact that in binary computers, and that's what all I think computers are, is everything's true-false. Everything starts with true-false. Everything's either switched on or switched off. C'est un interrupteur. It's all on and off. Now, if you once you have the counter, then you can go take that counter and match that counter up. So if we're counting only 5 trues out of 50 things, we just start counting and use the match command to find where it works. So my son told me, he really lectured, he said, you make things too complicated all the time. Just show somebody simple. Just make it simple. Try to make all this stuff simple. Try to make your advertising, which I'm really crappy at, try to make that simple so people see exactly what you're selling. Oh, I just closed this file. I kind of almost didn't want to, but I will. So here's a simple file. And in this simple file, I started this. Remember, we made this with our connections. Okay, and then so I put in one section the cost, and then the cost and capacity factor, and then some O&M, and I pretended we're looking at gas and solar, and we have a carrying charge. So it's sort of like the video I did, the all big complicated one. Now, instead of using the append thing in Power BI, I'm just going to copy this and paste it, okay? And I'm going to put the capacity factor here, and we might want to even put an assumption for capacity factor, okay, here, and this is kind of what they use, 85%. Okay, so we're going to show you how to do a sensitivity analysis with all this, and I'm going to limit my spinner boxes and everything else, okay? I meant to even not really do this, okay? And then we'll put our O&M together with that, so the gas O&M is variable O&M. So let's just do this. Let's just copy. Notice I put an EIA thing at the bottom. So here's our variable O&M, and that includes a fuel cost. And then let's put our, for solar, we really just have fixed O&M. Okay, and let's copy that and kind of put that over here. And these are going to be zeros, and okay, shift down, control D, put a 0, shift down, control D, and that's our database. Okay. Now, in the real, I did this with a bunch of match index and all that. So maybe we just want to graph the EIA data and compare that. Maybe we want to make a graph of only solar or gas, and maybe we want to make a graph just of individual countries. So I just want to compare Pakistan, gas versus that. Now, you can all do this in Power BI very, very easily, and I'm not even going to show you that this time. You just would take this, import this, and do a little filtering, and it would work very, very quickly. So this is, in a way, not really necessary, but I hope you can see from that last video that it can be very helpful, especially if you're doing a whole lot of sensitivity analysis, and it can just be a nice way to review things. So here's the first thing. Let's go up here and let's just do one very simply. Let's say I just want to get all the solar or all the gas. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the developer tab and make a little checkbox for this. Okay. And I think next time I won't even bother with that. Okay. Now, I'm saying now too much. Okay. And if you could have, it would be better to do this all with a list box. And in the list box, put some multiple controls on here. But then, I'm terrified of list box. I'm terrified of right now. It crashes Excel all the time. The stupid thing. They must be spending all their money and time on these programmers for Power BI because really Excel has not gotten much better. Oh, it really crashes. It never used to crash. I don't think it crashed hardly at all now, just from putting this beautiful list box, and I made all this effort to figure out how this list box works, and now I'm all depressed. And now I can tell you something else. The Yahoo Finance stock prices don't work the way they used to either. This is even more depressing. So we put a little true false here, okay? That's all we do. And you notice I went to a different sheet and all this. Now, once you do this, let's just do the first kind of things. Let's just do this one at a time. So now if we put our category, okay, and in the category, let's put whether this variable equals actually, let's do it this way. Let's put a solar first, a test, and then a gas test. Excuse me for making that mistake. Put an equal sign, and when that equals the solar, which we press F4, then we have so we first just start out with whether it's true or false. Now, once we have that kind of test, then if we want to print it out, let's put an if statement and just go to our assumptions and then say if this solar, F4, is true, then we'll just do it like this. And notice that I'm not lazy, really. So now if I click off of solar, they're all false. And let's do the same thing. Let's review it for gas. So put the equal sign to the gas, and then put another equal sign to this little variable right here. And press the F4 key, double-click, and then put a little if statement. And on the if statement, go back to the assumptions. You can see this is a whole lot more painful than just importing the whole thing into Power BI. And so now we're printing the gas, but not the solar. We've got trues on the solar. And then let's put a total here. I'll put subtotal. And then let's put equal or, because either one of these can be true. All right? And then we put a counter. And I'm kind of getting used to this almost. So let's put this one times 1. That's just kind of this one. And then we take the prior true and put a plus on the last one. So it gives us up to 7. Now, once we have this, we just use the match command. So let's go over here, and I think we could up to 15 different kind of items to graph. So let's put Alt-EIS and put columns and 15. I could have done this faster. Oops. Oh, no. I thought, let's tab. Oh, okay, columns and 15. Okay, and then we put kind of in this one, we can then match what kind of number we have. So we just put equal match. I didn't really explain that one very well just now. And this is going to give you the row number we want to graph. So we put match, and then we go to the counter, and then put a comma 0. So we're going to start with row 2, and then we're just going to go up to row A. And then over here, we can also put a maximum that we want to graph. Now, I'm gonna use this, and this is going to be the length of our graph. So we just put equal maximum of the amounts we have in the counter. Everything is really a key on the counter, and then we put our row. We'll start in row 0, and a column will start in row 0. I'm going to use the offset function, and then we have the length and the width. Now you can be much smarter than me and not have to do that. But then what we're going to do is once we, just a minute, we're going to make this, but let's get the x-axis first. And let's put the country on the x-axis. We could put all kind of different things. So then if it's match, I hope you know that INDEX, that's going to be the next one. And let's click on our country. And actually, let's make a x-axis. Maybe we'll put the country and the type of thing we have, the type of plant. So let's take index, and we'll go to the database, and then we'll get the match. Okay. And then, how about this? No. Let's do one more thing. And this time, I'm going to just make another one. This is actually a pain to do, isn't it? How many titles we have? We have cost, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 things we could cost. And actually, let's add one and put LCOE. I was going to do a really simple LCOE calculation, but that might take too long. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal transpose, and we click on this. Now you're saying, oh my God, what a pain, and I should have done 4 equal transpose. It allows me making mistakes, allows me to show you these stuff twice. Shift Control Enter, and then we go to our developer tab. We say, okay, let's format a control. Let's go to a different sheet, back to this sheet, our windscreen wiper method. And let's then put our index function. We go to this sheet, back to this sheet, and then put our little index thing here. So in this graph, we can now show you which item we want to graph. And then to get that working, you put equal index, and then you cheat. Not really cheating, but you click on the whole spreadsheet. Press F4, and then we want I didn't put the column number in yet. So this is our so we put equal index first. We go kind of crazy with all this index match, index match, index match. Okay, and then that's our column number, and then so our column is equal to match, and you can just match this thing here against the whole thing and put 0. So use the whole thing. So now we have the row here. This is the row, and that's our column. Maybe I'll move this over here because it's kind of makes a little more sense perhaps over here, or shoot, I'll put it like this maybe, okay, and put equal index, and you click on the whole sheet, the entire sheet, and then you press F4, and then you go back, and then you say, well, we put the row first, and then of course the column has to be fixed. And that gives you kind of our numbers, and it gives you an NA. So the final thing we have to do is press Control F3, and we make a new thing, and let's put X-axis, and press on the X-axis, use the offset command, offset function. And we start with this, and then we put the row is 0, the column is 0, the length is 7, and the width is 1. And then you press OK. And let's make another new one, and let's put a Y-axis. It's kind of, I've never done that before like that exactly. Okay, and then we put the start here and do the same thing. Put the row first, then the column, then the length, and then the width. And then, that's okay. And now let's just kind of make our first little graph here. Press F11 perhaps, or Alt-L. Let's just press Alt F1 to make a graph maybe right here, so we can kind of show it to you all together. We could even put some kind of thing in the title, but yeah, why not? So let's put this is our fixed O&M or something. All right, and then on the graph title, we go back to select the data, and we press Edit, and we have to do this, and on this one, this was the Y-axis. Then we press OK, it still does the same thing, and this one up here, that we just go only back to the exclamation point and put X-axis. And then press OK. I hope we still get the same thing. But the good news is now I can, how about let's move this graph this way. Okay, and then we put, if we put solar here, just a minute. It worked on the X-axis, and if we put a different thing here, it worked. Oh no, that was supposed to be like that, because it was supposed to be 0. It even worked. Okay, and it gives us that. All right, now let's say we want to do something else, and we only want to show, we want an option, and let me see how we're doing on the time. Okay, and let's say we only want to show an option that only has the either the EIA in one case, or we only want to show Mongolia. Okay, we do almost the same thing. We can even copy this, copy this, and once you copy these little things, you can say, well, let's make that 25. So we don't even have to go to the thing, and then we copy it again and make it 26 this time. Okay, so we only have to change that. And then here's the pane, so we're just going to or maybe let's put another one that says all. Okay, so we can either only show Mongolia only show EIA or show everything. Okay? Of course, if this is true, then these don't matter, but whatever. Or I could have said all other. How about I'll do it all other. Okay, so the next thing we do is go to the database, and then up here, before you put the counter in, let's insert some and put, what's our first one? We put EIA, then Mongolia, then all other. Okay. Now then we're just going to put a little if statement the same way we did before. And then we'll put another subtotal, and then we'll put a grand total. And the grand total, it's a pain. You have to do a lot of true falses. If the list box still worked, it I think would be a tiny bit easier, but what the heck. So, of course, this one, we just say, well, if this number equals the EIA, or suppose it's a little more elegant to test this EIA, then it's going to be true. Okay, but we do the same thing. Before that, we put a little if statement, and we only want to print that one out as long as that one is true here. Okay, so it's just using a whole bunch of true falses. Let me turn this off while I do the other ones. Okay, if you noticed, I spelled Mongolia wrong on this. So then we do another subtotal, or any of one of these two things is true, equal, or, not of. Okay, and then on the grand total, they both kind of have to be true. So we put equal and this one and the other subtotal have to be true. You might say, what a ridiculous pain. And you are probably right, but this whole thing is essentially what we do. And this whole video, I know it's taken maybe half an hour, it really has. So, okay. Right now, I have everything to be true, I think. But let's turn Mongolia off, and how about all others off? And then we only have EIA gas, and if we want only EIA solar. So that's this little technique. It uses a count, a match, a whole lot of true-false things, and a whole lot of checkbox. How about review? Okay, you need checkboxes with true and false. Okay, and then you need to make a counter, tests, and then you make a counter. And then after you make a counter, you use the match function. And then once you use the match function, you're going to have to use the index. And then we also applied the offset function. So it was a pain. I'm not saying it wasn't at all. How about Control-Alt-C? I've resisted doing a lot of this, but you know, if we color sheet, we can see what's, I forgot to Shift-Alt-C again. I don't want to put anything, I want to not include anything in column A, and then it did bolds, but okay, enough of that. It showed you what's true and false. Okay, enough of this video, but now you can see kind of how to do it.